Started off with a bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, he'll set it up.
Surfing on the web and I'm shooting at 3. I've been goated when I got my G. I'm an alien boy from a different planet, yeah. So I got my drink, I'm riding in the 1920s Model T Ford. Call her Era Lord. Call me Levi, playing on the keys, boy. And I'm about to put my gloves on. If I said it, then I meant that. Yeah, I like that one, I'm about to get that. Crash that whip for the drumsticks, whiplash. I'm about to get them all. Are you with that? In a white boat, surrounded by blue. I want one, but I got a cop too. I wanna fly high in the sky, arms out wide, trying to soar from a bird's eye view. I'm on fire, Ricky, Bobby, cracking the pavement, Whitney, Bobby. I'm a Saki bomb, Hiroshima, Nagasaki. Bruce Wayne been a dog, and I keep it 101, cause I'm feeling kinda spotty. You sipping on some rock, and I'm sipping on octane. The only thing around my neck is the blockchain.
Now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, he'll set it up.
NFT, Twitter, blockchain. Seeing with the ghosts and we ballin' like LeBron James. Crypto. We can make a trade, get the memo. The feels not falling for the FOMO. Listening to coffee with Captain. You know we worldwide, they loco. I ain't never gon' stop rapping. Orlando, yeah, we working magic. We rockin' Ethereum entities. I just went and caught me a half base. Man, I gotta shout out
Started
the
off with a bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2.
What up? Welcome to another episode of Web3 Weekly Alpha. It's your host, Serpunk. And this is where we go over everything happening in the digital renaissance. We're going over markets. We're going over crypto and NFT news. We're going over the largest sales and everything that's impacting market dynamics. And first and foremost, we always start off with the charts. So thanks again for joining. Let's jump right into what's happening in the wonderful world of Web3. All right. So we always like to start off with Bitcoin and ETH to kind of gauge where the entire crypto market is. As we know, altcoins. Oh, this? Oh, shit. Sorry. Yeah. Starting over. Everything likes to follow Bitcoin and Ethereum in terms of altcoins. So as long as they're doing okay and as long as they're holding up, then altcoins should be performing okay. But right now we have I pulled out the monthly chart here on Bitcoin because it broke out of a pivot here, as you can see. Pretty bullish candle on the monthly. Really good to see, and recovering a moving average as well. So it's looking well. It's performing bullishly, and we did have some resistance here at 30 grand, and that is still trying to fight through. But let's see. The longer again it holds up here, the higher odds that we can get through that level. Same thing with Ethereum. Ethereum on the monthly, nice kind of hammer candle here on the monthly. It's trying to hold above this. It's trying to hold above this resistance that's trying to turn into support. Again, similar to last week, where it's kind of it hasn't been a very volatile week in Bitcoin and Ethereum, but that's not always a bad thing. Sometimes it just takes time in the market. So hopefully that's what's happening here. Let's move on into some NFT charts. The big news this week is, of course, DeGods and Utes migrating from Solana onto Bitcoin. Onto Ethereum and Polygon. As you can see here, that it went absolutely ballistic into this news, and the DeGods chart is breaking out of the 600 Sol area here, and it's just going parabolic, right? I think I know of several people that were playing this prior to the migration, hoping for the price to move, and it did, right? So congratulations to everybody who made that trade. And again, this is the Utes. That was the DeGods chart. This is Utes, where it's going absolutely ballistic. It went from 160 to 245 Solana, and the migration was smooth, and now it's DeGods is one of the top NFT projects on Ethereum at 9 ETH, which is pretty incredible to see. But again, this is a mass liquidity, mass euphoria kind of play, in my opinion, in the short term. As you can see, DeGods teamed up with Blur, the trading marketplace on Ethereum, to kind of be the recommended platform to trade DeGods. And it's right there in the center of the website when you get on there. So this is not the ideal time to be picking something up if you're trying to catch the best prices, right? When everybody's already buying it, everybody's hearing about it and have their eyes on it. It's usually not the best time to buy. It's probably a good time to sell off into that liquidity a little bit. But again, you can't deny that they have an amazing community, and honestly, they're killing it. I can't really say anything different. So congrats to both of those communities. Bored Ape Yacht Club, we always like to start off with the leaders in NFTs as well. As you can see, it's below the kind of short-term support. It's just kind of hanging in there. There's nothing really going on. There's been a lot of capitulation over the last couple weeks in NFTs. So I think we're probably due to just kind of figure out if we're going to go sideways or if some prices are going to start to relief rally from where they're at. Mutant kind of recovering this short-term support here and trying to hold up. Pudgy Penguins not doing much, kind of got below this level, but we got to remember that it is above this big breakout area. So as long as we hang out in here and can we get back above this level is important. Little Pudgies is looking very similar. What's interesting is that it was pulling back on very low volume. So hopefully we can get that reversal here. Azuki is still holding this price. It's not been able to break down. If we can start to rally here through this line, I think that could be an interesting spot for Azuki. And it's held up relatively strong compared to the market. CryptoPunks has been extremely volatile as the Blur farmers have figured out that this is a no royalty project, and they're just taking advantage of that. And it's really just been bouncing between this like 60-ish, 70-ish ETH area. Tried to go here. It's just kind of still hanging around in the channel. So until then, there's really no clear direction of where CryptoPunks wants to head. Captains is absolutely going crazy. Besides DeGods and Utes, it's really the only other project on Ethereum that's looking to break out, and it's actually breaking all-time highs, as you can see here. So this is the weekly chart. It's looking really good, and it's showing, like I said again, the best relative strength. So it's really important to keep an eye on those kinds of projects, because in an environment where nothing's really going or going down, if something's going up, there's something special happening there. And I know that these haven't revealed yet, so they're probably going to continue to pump into that reveal. 9 times out of 10, those end up being good sell liquidity events, but really cool to see that this community is holding up strongly. Same thing with potatoes. Captains of Potatoes off from that same meme land ecosystem, and it's breaking out. And this is really special, as you can see from all the other charts, that none of that action is really happening with any other project right now. On-chain Monkey, we had that big move from Ordinals. It hasn't done much since then. It's kind of holding this short-term support on the pullback, and let's just see if we can hang in there. Killer Bears is one that's, I would say, relatively strong. We had that big move, and it didn't give back too much. And it's normal to pull back after such a significant move to the upside, and we're holding this short-term support here for now. So this is one of the strong ones on the list. Campai Pandas as well. They've been dropping a lot of things within their ecosystem and pulled back to support in the 20 moving average, and just kind of holding, kind of in the chop fest here for the most part for a lot of these. I know Moonbirds and all these so-called blue chips have kind of just been selling off the last couple of weeks. Nothing too different is happening here, where it's just kind of trying to hold up. At some point, one of these Doodles, Moonbirds, Artifact, they're going to have to give you some sort of a relief rally. Doodles is getting close to the support, but really not doing much different than last week. Same thing with Artifact. Artifact got below this important level, 4 ETH, and, at some point, the selling will stop, but we don't know where that exactly will be. Wrecked Guy. Choppy the last 3 weeks, as you can see here. Still trying to hold this support area. Let's see if we can hang in there. Sappy Seals just could not break that down through the support while all the weakness was happening across the board. So that was cool to see. And it looks better than I would say most charts and most projects. So shout out to the Sappies holding up support. Checks, same thing. Pretty decent pullback, but that was after a massive move. It can't get above that 1 ETH mark, and it's still holding the short-term support, so let's see what happens there. Opepin. Opepin's one of my projects that I'm keeping an eye on. I think with Jack Butcher's doing some interesting stuff happening there. So this is the weekly on Opepin, where you can see there's not too much going on, but when you take it to the daily, you can see there's a little bit more of structure here where it looks like it's trying to bottom. It's in the sideways channel, and it's just kind of pulling back short term here. But I think it's trying to find a short term bottom here. It could be an interesting spot. Keep an eye on this one. The NFT trade of the week. We haven't seen a pump like this in a minute. So some people are getting bullish at least somewhere in the market. There's always a bull market somewhere. Nakamigos is the project, and as you can see, it's just gone parabolic, up only, from below 0.1, now above 0.5 ETH, and it's just not stopping. It's really taken over my entire Twitter feed with some really large accounts starting to talk about it, as you can see here. Anonymous, Economist, shilling these Nakamigos. You can see this rare one sold for 3 ETH. So there's a lot of people talking about Mooncat, who's the second biggest holder now of Nakamigos, where he's got hundreds of these things, and he's really bullish on them. So again, NFTs is really a social game, and if you search on Twitter and Nakamigos, somebody's posting about it every minute, then it's still in people's awareness and taking all of our attention. So until that attention dies down, who knows how high these things could go. And people are really liking the art and the different traits. They're having fun collecting them, and that's a unique thing, as that's not happened in a while, but it's not a guarantee of future higher prices. Mooncat is also a whale of many projects, not just Nagamigos. He's holding a ton of each one of these projects, where he's the biggest holder, or top 3 for ByteGANs, the AI project by Van Arman, Inhabitants, which used to be called something else, which kind of forgetting right now, but it's in the Pixel Vault ecosystem, where it used to be the Heroes, and now it's the Inhabitants. And he's bullish on this. Wrecked Guy, Chimpers, AIR on just brain drops. So this guy's a whale. I would watch what he's buying, and just he gets a lot of attention because of that. So also the art market, NFT, PFPs have not been the only thing that have gotten hit in the NFT market. Digital art has as well. And as we know, the cycles can move quick in NFTs as degens have short attention spans. So this is the next few slides will be some charts to illustrate what I've just shared. And this is the memes by 6529, where you can see earlier this year, the market cap really went bonkers. And since then, it's really contracted back to previous levels. The ones that continue to hold the best value are the first 10 from the season 1, which makes sense. But a lot of this euphoria is dying down. Braindrops, the AI platform, the sort of the AI version of Art Blocks, right, had that huge run early on with a lot of Claire Silver's work and West America, and it's pulling back pretty heavy here. So you're seeing kind of a bear market across the board, or choppiness for the most part. Even Fontana by Harvey, another pretty well-known project. Genesis by DCA. As you can see, had a pretty decent pullback. The Harvest, popular generative art project on Art Blocks, came out hot out the gate and is kind of giving that back. Chromie Squiggle, which is known to be like a grail in the generative art world by Snowfro, founder of Art Blocks, has kind of been on a downtrend really since the beginning of 2023, right? So digital art has not been able to escape that. So shout out to War Daddy Capital, where he kind of shares these charts and illustrates that, you know, Chromie Squiggles went from 18 to 10, Gazers 37 to 20, 65 to 42 on Ringers. These are supposed to be, you know, some grail art pieces, and then some mid-cap ones doing something similar. 12 to 2.9, that's a big difference. 12 to 4, 17 to 5. So some of these things got ahead of themselves. And then, again, just Web3 has been lacking a lot of participants, and people have been selling to WETH bids to just get some liquidity. So you're seeing a lot of that in the art space. Shout out to NFT Statistics, where he illustrates here that DGods has flipped Chromie Squiggles that we were just talking about, them being a grail generative art project. And it goes to show, you know, I think DGods is getting a little bit euphoric here in the short term. And it's just interesting to see them now surpassing Chromie Squiggle. And again, if this doesn't spell it out for you, then I don't know what else you need to see. But this is not usually what you see when the opportunity is undervalued in the short term. And as soon as Frank and the migration from his projects to Solana to Ethereum and Polygon were successful, he went on an ETH NFT shopping spree, as NFT Statistics here illustrates, and he just went ham. He went on Twitter, and every time he bought a project, he posted about it, and he told us why he was getting involved. And he was just trying to support and get to know some of these communities in this new chain now that his projects are on. So, you know, you could see all the top ones, and I think it was great marketing. And I think, you know, that's just a good play to kind of support other projects. And then you, in turn, saw a lot of these projects and their founders come and support Utes and DGods as well. So it was reciprocated. All right, so let's get into some more market news, not just charts, but things that are affecting the dynamic supply and demand and all that good stuff. So Serpunk, shout out to him, where he says, businesses and governments flooding crypto at an all-time high. Companies and countries are scrapping their Web3 launches. We're seeing that all over the place, and we'll be going over some examples of this in the next couple of slides. Google trends for crypto NFTs are close to all-time lows. Meanwhile, Bitcoin and ETH had those nice moves leading the charge for risk assets off of the bottom, as we illustrated on earlier monthly charts. But as you can see, the world has forgotten about crypto, whether that's because they're now chasing the new hot thing, which is AI, or whether they just got burned and enough of the media illustrated crypto as sort of like a scam, a fraud, and a place to lose money. So whatever it may be, the attention's not here right now. But that's usually when the best opportunities are available, when everybody's forgotten about it and nobody's looking at it, and people are buying. Your grandma and your father and your uncle calling you to buy treasuries at 4-5% with the government, right? So Same thing with NFTs. They've completely lost interest. We had those all-time highs, which were very correlated to prices, as we can remember. But so you don't want to be buying when everybody has already heard of it. I think the opportunities are always when they've been forgotten, the volumes dried up, which is exactly what's happened here. Shout out to Poof ETH, where he says, there's only around 25,000 of us left hanging out here daily. It's going to be cozy. So it's kind of crazy to think that there's only 25,000 of us that are active trading NFTs on Ethereum. That's like nothing. It's barely a market. So everybody's left. It's really died down. But again, as you can see, we've really haven't been at these levels for a long time. And these could be the opportunity that you can grab some things with good deals because people need liquidity or they're just kind of, they can't take any more pain. Of course, there's been a lot of talk about Blur and its effect on NFTs in general. A lot of people have not agreed with Blur's strategy and what it's done to the trading on NFTs, but I think Keyboard Monkey says it best. I couldn't have said it any better myself, where he says, people would rather see an e-liquid book that has more fake value than the liquid book that is closer to the NFT's actual value. They want to live in La La Land, where e-liquid marks mean they're wealthier in paper than they truly are. Blur's fault for bringing liquidity to e-liquid assets and reality where there was little. So I think he's absolutely right, and I don't think, I think what Blur is doing is it's just providing liquidity. It's not making your NFTs cheaper. It's just helping it find the correct price based on the market, and accelerate that process. We talked about earlier, a lot of companies and governments are scrapping their Web3 projects. Here's a perfect example. Shout out to Punk6529, where he says, even the Royal Mint has learned about the NFT market. We will see you in the next cycle. And as you can see here, initially they proposed the UK's Royal Mint. At the time, the government was also making moves to bring so-called stablecoins. And they pretty much said the Royal Mint is not proceeding with the launch of a NFT token at this time, but we'll keep this proposal on the review. You're seeing that all over the place. People are pausing NFT drops, pausing Web3 projects that they had in the works, and that's a lot of thing you see towards more of the bottom side that cycle. Shout out to Markets and Mayhem, where he illustrates a couple more of these, where he says Facebook pulled back meaningfully in their investments and ambitions with the metaverse. Disney shut down its metaverse division. LinkedIn paused its social virtual reality platform, and same thing with Apple. So a lot of this metaverse stuff is getting put on hold, which is probably affecting Web3 stuff, right? All right, shout out to Blockworks Research. We go over this every other show, I would say, but it's good to remember that even though Bitcoin's price has gone down a lot over the last year or so, the hash rate continues to go and break all-time highs. So despite prices going being 30% higher than they were at the peak of the 2018 bull market and 62% lower than this cycle's peak, Bitcoin hash rate continues to make all-time high. What could it be? Is it the ordinal effect, new generation of efficient miners, nation-state actors, a banking system collapse? We don't know, but the tailwinds for Bitcoin are real, like Blockworks says. So that's good to see. Let's jump into some large sales. No matter how down bad any market is, there's always somebody buying big ticket items. But there's also some grails being sold at really cheap prices. And we're either seeing liquidity sales or tax season sales, and probably both. So this is an rare captains, an alien trait, and it sold for 33.33 ETH. Pretty large sale. As you can see, they had one of the strongest breakouts this week in the entire market. And you like to see some rare sales lined up with that. Shout out to Donia on Twitter, where she sold her liquid codex. Really cool piece. It's this picture doesn't do it any justice, as it's a GIF, but it sold for 3.69 ETH. Congratulations to her. I really love that piece. Shout out to Gabe Wise, who's the creator of the Stoics. It's an NFT project, but this is his open edition of the Stoics. And it was in partnership with OpenSea, where he sold 7,777 of these kind of generative open edition pieces. And congrats to him. He sold out. They were only 0.019, but that still comes up to around $276,000 that this artist was able to raise via an open edition. And that's simply because people want to support him. People like the art. They like what it stood for. So, again, NFTs continues to show that it's a place for artists to leverage and raise funds to continue to do what they do. Shout out to Laura L. I really like this piece personally, and it sold for 8.25 ETH on Super Rare. Beautiful piece of just this kind of beautiful scenery and this girl kind of flying away in this balloon. But it just reminds me of me being in New York and kind of hits home for me. But shout out to her. And Magnetic Truth, shout out to King Xerox. I really love his glitch art. This picture doesn't do it any justice, but this is a beautiful piece. The glitch art, really, you should take a look at it. But shout out to him on the sale. And again, it hasn't been all-time high sales in this market. There's been a lot of sales that were either under floor or under the floor of that particular trait. Good example is Ringers here, where NFT statistics, shout out to him. He says this Ringer sold for 39.99 ETH, and this is usually going for a higher price than this, especially for the aesthetics of this Ringer. And it just goes to show the market that we're kind of in right now, especially for digital art. Shout out to Sobi, where he says a Sorare player just won this one-of-one auction for my Pep. I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with this player. I probably butchered that all up, but it sold for $192,000, 109 ETH. Sorare is sort of like a sports collecting gambling platform, if I'm correct. But he says gamified digital collectibles are the future, and it looks like as if Sorare is really doing things correctly in this sort of domain. So keep an eye on Sorare if you're in that kind of thing, but you're starting to see some pretty high sales on the platform. So something is brewing there. Shout out to NFT statistics. Again, a lower priced sale for something considered a grail with this hoodie punk, right? We know hoodie punks are some of the most expensive kind of punks, and this sells for 180 ETH. It's the lowest hoodie punk sale since May of last year. Kind of wild. We know who bought it. Shout out to Eric, where he says, been sitting on ETH for a minute, and I've wanted a mustache punk since I've been rocking a mustache since I was 16. And he was able to scoop this up for a good deal. And shout out to Nikolai, where he illustrates here how low of a sale this was relative to other hoodie punk sales over time. You can see it's on that lower part of the range. So as you usually in bear markets, these higher traits, more rare NFTs start to get sold kind of closer to floor. So that's exactly what we're seeing here. Something interesting that I came across yesterday, actually, and it's kind of ironic that it happened all in the same day. And a couple of them were my friends. Shout out to Waffles Out Eve, where he says 3 OG apes sold their NFTs, where it was really a big part of their brands. Everybody knew them as these apes. They go to the ape events, and they rock the stickers, and they really turn it into their digital identity. And they finally sold their digital identities on the internet. One of them was Gotrilla, where you could see he sold it for 65 WETH. I mean, shout out to him, man. It's still a 6-figure sale. And that's a good chunk of change. So shout out to him. But it's going to be hard for me to recognize Gotrilla without the ape. Same thing with my boy Swole. He's now a mutant. He said tax season is rolling around. I'm selling my ape. Shoot me some offers. And he sold it to Franklin, which Franklin sold it not too shortly after that. But it's hard to recognize these people without their monkeys. It was their digital identity. So I think you're seeing a lot of that right now, right? Tax selling, people need recoup funds or for whatever reasons, right? But that could also be opportunistic windows for anybody looking to scoop some of these up. So jumping into new mints. There's not a whole ton that's changed on this front. Shout out to John Carlo, where he's always keeping us up to date with mint or skip. Check it out. And he says NFTs dropping in April. We know it's similar ones as last week. Our Paul Gang, Den Decaden, Alts by Adidas we covered Moonbird Mythics, Reddit, and Legends of Mara now, which is a new one by Bored Ape Yacht Club, and we're gonna jump into that one in a little while. What was interesting was that Den, which we covered last week, has lowered their mint price. As you can see, before they were doing a 0.29 public mint, and they're moving to a 0.07. So pretty big decrease there, and they must have heard from their community or understood the market is kind of not where it used to be. So interesting move there. Let's jump into some NFT news where there was a lot. I think really a lot of these teams have been building, and a lot of that stuff is coming to fruition now. So a huge partnership this week was announced. Gucci strikes a deal with Yuga Labs to help shape metaverse offering. And as you can see, Gucci actually tweeted this from their own Twitter account. It says, continuing to explore the metaverse, the house comes together with Yuga Labs. Stay tuned as a new narrative takes shape, blurring the boundaries between physical and digital. As you can see, this is sort of like the magical potion juice that Curtis the Ape and Bored Ape Yacht Club is holding in the trailer. So really interesting partnership. Looking forward to seeing what that happens. Gucci is not giving up on the metaverse like a lot of those earlier companies. Big news. Ticketmaster debuts NFT gated ticket sales, starting with Avenged Sevenfold, which is a rock band that has been deep and early in NFTs, and they've really leveraged it to connect more with their fans. Shout out to MusicBen.eth, where he shares some insights on this, where he says, Ticketmaster is launching the token-gated ticket purchases with Event Sevenfold. If you hold the artist's NFT, you get first access to tickets. It's big, right? It means that true fans get priority access, seat selection, and the best prices. You don't have to worry about scalping, bots, waiting, refreshing. No, it's you connect your wallet, as Rob here illustrates. You go to the pre-sale link, connect your crypto wallet. If you hold the NFT, it gets verified. You buy your ticket. It's that simple. You get early access with no rush, nothing to worry about. And this is the best version of Verified Fan. I agree with you, Rob. Thank you. And this is actually from Everyday Better, a fan of Avenged Sevenfold who actually held the NFT and took advantage of this token-gated experience. And he says, since I am a Deaf Bat Club holder, that's the actual name of the band. Avenged Sevenfold is the name of the NFT drop, where he says, I was able to get 2 tickets in Section 1 for $250, which included a $25 ticket fee. So he says, those same 2 tickets are now close to $755 total, which includes a $61 fee. And he says, I can't speak for everyone, but for me, they were a win. And of course he was. He could literally 3x his purchase. And it was because he held the NFT and he got priority access. And Avenged Sevenfold is big on rewarding their superfans. And their superfans are most likely the ones that are holding their NFTs. So it makes perfect sense. Ticketmaster, where you might ask, they've already minted 15 million digital collectibles tied to different events, different NFL games. They're using Flow blockchain. They're now using Ethereum via Polygon. And this is actually the Deaf Bats Club NFT project. You can see they have a 0.14 floor. You can go buy one right now, and you get the perks of their next ticket drops. So you love to see that on that end, as we know that's a big going to be disruptive for ticketing. Now, Sound.xyz, which is a popular music NFT platform in Web3, and they dropped something new called Sound Swap. And we're going to break this down because I think this is interesting here. One-click collect and sell your favorite songs. Collect it at any time. Price changes as songs are collected or sold, and you can instantly sell at any price. So this is how it works. So the primary sale, a song starts with a 24-hour open edition at 0.005. They want the lower prices, so it's inclusive, and there's always a golden egg revealed after the primary sale ends. So it's a raffle. Anybody who buys in that primary has a chance to win that golden egg. And now you can mint after the primary sale, giving you more opportunities to collect. With each edition collected, the price of the next edition increases, and a portion of the proceeds are stored in a liquidity pool. So it's kind of like a stock, right? Where you buy it, it goes higher. You sell it, it goes slower. So 95% of these proceeds goes to the artist, 5% goes to sound. For the sale, 90% stays in the liquidity pool. Some of that goes to the artist, and then the other goes to the actual platform. So cool to see Sound just trying different things to help artists become more successful with their drops. All right, so Blur, they made an announcement, and some people were not happy about it, including Machi Big Brother. You can see he said fuck. And what is he saying fuck to? Well, they came out and they said, we originally wanted to launch their 2x points and their 2x points by April 1st, but it's going to take longer to build it right. As consolidation, bidding and listing points for season 2 will remain doubled until May 1st. This is not good news for Blur airdrop farmers, and we know Machi Big Brother is one of the largest ones, because now the thought process was that if it ended on April 1st, then the people who were doing the farming for that month were the ones who were going to get a bulk of that airdrop. But now if they're extending it, now they're going to have to continue to trade, continue to bid, and continue to lose money, because it seems like a lot of these people are just hoping that the airdrop by Blur overcomes all their losses. But his airdrop might be worth less, and now he has to continue it for longer to get his payout. So interesting there with Blur. Shout out to Jack Butcher, where he dropped some thoughts this week, and I think it's Pepins and what he's doing is something to really keep an eye on. And what he says, I'm reasonably confident in the staying power of simple geometric symbols. With the speed of which this stuff is moving, my thinking is it's smarter to build a recognizable window than a recognizable image. He also says commercial rights to an unrecognizable subtle variation on thousands of characters without the ability to say the name of the collection in any commercial endeavor. That to me sounds like he's hinting at going CC0 with Pepins, which would make sense. As you know, I'm an advocate for CC0. It's not for all projects, but I like that Jack Butcher's hinting at that. And then his point here, I think, is interesting, because he kind of wants to make this like a meme template rather than the PFP that those particular holders are rocking, right? And I'll share an example of what he means there. But he also shared some Pepin AI art that Twitter really liked. This is just 2 examples of it. And referring to what Jack said in the earlier tweet, where he says give people a frame versus an image, this is exactly what he means, right? So he wants to give people sort of that frame, that template, where you can create the art around that, and it really becomes a community thing. And I honestly think that's a really smart way to go about things. Notable Pepes. We know that they dropped a couple weeks ago, but they're adding some extra things here, where they're saying they're formally kicking off the potentially notable Pepe's collection with 4 claims over the next 48 hours. So, and what is this going to do? Well, it'll be used to reward collectors of Pepes with more Pepes via regular claims. So, if you own the Pepe checks, you can claim 1 green beans checks here. If you owned 100 or more Pepe checks, you could claim 1 fake Rothko check per 100 Pepe checks. And there was 4 of them, but you can go ahead and go on their Twitter and see all 4. Well, I'm sorry, the drop ended, but they were giving some potential new drops to Pepe holders and large holders, depending on how much you held. So keep an eye on the ecosystem if you're a fan of notable Pepes. Kevin Smith. We all know Kevin Smith, the actor, and him teamed up with Decentralized Pictures award $40,000 to a comedy filmmaker. Love to see this stuff happening in a decentralized fashion. So I think there's a new kind of avenue to support creators, and this is another example of that with Web3. All right, Daniel. Shout out to him, where he says, today is my last day as president and COO of Activision Blizzard. Thank you to the incredible teams who created truly epic games. Tomorrow I officially start as the CEO of Yuga Labs. As we know, Yuga Labs seems to be going the gaming route, and it makes sense why they hired the COO of Activision Blizzard. And speaking of Yuga Labs, for those who did go on second trip last week, they announced a metadata update for those who participated on that second trip. So check that out. And they also are revealing the heavy metal collection. So we're going to go through that. So the HV is a unique, dynamic NFT that evolved based on your decisions. Don't fuck it up. There are 8 different kinds. Shout out to Harry, where he kind of illustrates the 8 different kinds. And this is what they look like. Let's do a deep dive into each one. Glitch, dynamic, night. There's all different kinds. And then there's that one legendary, or the few. These are the most scarce, right? But that's going to be the ones that most people are going to want, right? So check that out. Homebase. I thought this was one of the most interesting pieces of news to me, where Homebase sells out first tokenized home on Solana. They're not the first. I've seen these companies on ETH as well, but I think what they're doing is sort of interesting, where it's excited to share their first tokenized rental property that sold out in 2 weeks. Investors will begin to receive rent directly to their crypto wallet via USDC. More about this is earlier in the month they listed the first tokenized property, the Cardinal, a 235K single-family rental. It was an experiment to see if people even wanted to buy tokenized real estate. You can see here, tokenized Texan house listed for sale on Solana. And then they say users had the opportunity to buy NFTs that represent a fractional share in the Cardinal worth $100 each. We sold out in under 2 weeks during the Silicon Valley bank crash. After 60 plus calls in the last 2 weeks, what did they learn? Well, they learned that people want DeFi, and users could invest in cash flowing rental properties directly from their Solana Phantom wallet, and they didn't need a bank's approval to do it. Users could browse the Cardinal, view its projected financials, and invest from the comfort of their own home. And this was the property. You could Google it if you want to check it out, and they kind of had all the details on the website, and they do the work for you, right? The users who participated will begin to get their proportional net rent delivered to their Solana wallet monthly. Homebase handles all property management, all home improvements, so you don't really have to worry about a thing. And they're focused on security. And they say develop Solana's first security token offering on the Metaplex protocol. Tokens are registered with the SEC, and they're filed under Reg D 506B. Good to hear. And this is probably a question that comes up a lot as well. Why would I feel safe buying a property on my crypto wallet if I could potentially get hacked? Well, okay. They say they have established processes for token recovery in case a user's wallet is hacked. I still want to know what that process is, because again, we see people get hacked every day in this space. So, but eventually, I think that's going to be solved, and things like this will only continue to grow. And their goal is to create a fractional economy for homes. Imagine being able to use home NFTs as collateral to take out a loan via a DeFi protocol, or tokenizing your home and selling 20 to 30% of it online. No bank credit score required. This is big, and I think it's early in this space, but these are the kinds of things that I think Web3 is going to offer, and crypto in general. It's going to bring the masses. Shout out to Zagabond, with the founder of Azuki, where it looks like he was hanging out with Tony Hawk. And he gave him one of the rare gold skateboards. And he says, to the skaters of the internet, Tony Hawk. So, pretty cool stuff with Azuki. Alchemy, shout out to him, where he says, I've always had a dream of joining Y Combinator. Now you are telling me Doodles is working to support entrepreneurs in a similar fashion. Absolutely bullish on Doodles and excited to see where we go. So, what is he referring to? Apparently, there's a Doodle Bank amendment with entrepreneurs, for entrepreneurs to say, like a Y Combinator or a Disney Accelerator program, the Doodle Bank will become a funding resource to support collectors working to build meaningful products, stories, services for our community and the world. With an eye to ensuring that these new projects bring incremental value to collectors, where it's appropriate, these grants may be subject to collectors receiving specialized access, pricing, or the unique benefits. So it's cool to see that the Doodles is funding their community on their platform to take their ideas to new heights. All right, 9DCC, the fashion project by Mr. G Money, where he talks about, or they're talking about launching a network points system for the NDCC and the Admit One community. It was available March 30th, a couple days ago, and it's designed to reward those two communities. This program is all about building meaningful in real life communities and connections through 9DCC networked products. I think what they're building is really awesome, and they're really early pioneers, where I think a lot of fashion brands are going to follow in these sort of footsteps, where they bridge the physical and the digital, they gamify the process, and it becomes kind of a community thing, right? So their second point is network points is about rewarding the most loyal members of the ecosystem. We see passion from you on a daily basis, and today we get to share that love with the world. Prices and incentives for the highest ranks will be announced over time. Are you ready to push to the top? And this is sort of the leaderboard, right? Now, I'll jump into that in a minute. One of the central access points into the 9DCC network points is through subdomains. So you can sign up, and you need to have a subdomain so that you can be listed on the leaderboard, right? So unlock your subdomain. It's free, I believe, if you're a part of the community, and you just got to prove it with your wallet. And this is a great way to kickstart your climb on the leaderboard. So this is what the leaderboard looks like. It automatically updates your points, and it shows the wallet that is connected to that with the NFT. And then they talk a little bit more about it here, where they're introducing the network points for both communities. And I think this is a really smart thing to do, where you have those T-shirts. You can scan the chip that's in the shirt. You can give away POAPs. You can get points. And now it really encourages the community to become a part of this if they're going to be giving you rewards for more participation. And they even dropped something interesting, like where it's sort of like guess a word game, right? So you shout out to basti.9dcc.eth, where he says, tap your shirt, guess a word, farm 9DCC points. So it's like a wordly kind of game, and I guess you can just scan the shirt. I'm not exactly sure on that part, but very interesting. They're really making this piece of clothing a community thing, where I think they're early on this kind of thing, and a lot of other brands are going to start following in these footsteps. And I think G-Money is always great at being ahead of the curve. So watch out for that community. I hope to be part of that community soon. Shout out to Rainey, where he says over 10,000 youths bridged to Polygon. Can't wait to see who won that Bitcoin DGOT, as they were giving one away for all the people who migrated within the first 24 hours. And that obviously worked to incentivize people. Shout out to Decrypt Media, where they said at least $37 million worth of youths NFTs migrated to Polygon from Solana in one day. That was nearly 77% of all NFTs that left the Solana chain in that one day. So more news with DGODs. If you migrated, we cover your ETH fees. It'll only take a few minutes, a few hours. And also, they're doing the giveaway. And what's interesting is they're dropping royalties to 0.33 on all marketplaces. So, and they announced that they're teaming up with Blur as their main marketplace, as we talked about earlier. Which is interesting. I know Frank was talking about going to zero royalties a while back, and it looks like they're pretty much there. This is not, guaranteed, but there's a little mystery here where Spliff, he says, I know I said goodnight, but someone made a shocking discovery. This was in a DGODs or Frank post, where if you really zoomed in, there was a picture of an airdrop. Does that mean airdrop soon? Possibly. I don't know. Keep an eye out. And it's possible. It's possible that he wants to reward the people who migrated, which would be a smart move. Shout out to the Bored Ape Gazette, where he says the 10KTF project just updated its profile picture, and it has. You can see here on Twitter where it made that post. It's kind of, I guess, solidifying WagMeSun's look here. And there's a lot of things telling that WagMeSun and 10KTF and New Tokyo is going to have a big part of the other side metaverse. 6529, shout out to him, where he says season 2 is ending. And as you can see, Rakesh, where he says when season 2 comes to an end of the memes, and he's proud to own all these cards with these amazing artists and can't wait for season 3. Honestly, I really love the memes with 6529. I think they do incredible work. They put an incredible message out, and they work with all the best artists in the space, and it's just really positive thing to the space. So congratulations on another incredible season. And I think some of these may be sought after to the years to come. Esther, from the founders of Tessera, Andy and Dees, who's the director of Vibes, I think did an incredible job of onboarding artists and just really filling a need quickly in the space as the space was asking for it. I mean, you had that whole open edition meta with artists from earlier shows weeks ago, and they instantly saw there was a need there and built the platform. So collectors, you can start exploring our curated marketplace and browse, buy, and sell the editions shaping the digital art movement. Artists with showrooms are cordially invited to connect and start customizing your collector experience. So as you can see, you go on the website and you can choose between the artists you want, and on that artist's profile, you're going to see all their art that's an open edition listed. You can see how many are listed, and you can buy and sell them right then and there. So I think before, like if I wanted to buy an open edition, I didn't know where to find them all. Now Esther is that. So I could come here and just kind of find out which ones I want from that particular artist. So congrats to them on the smooth drop there. I think those guys are really great builders and always bringing the good vibes. So shout out to AK Stevie, where he says, did you catch this? 90 moonbirds are getting Beeple every days in Diamond Nest. Diamond Nest is the people who have been staking, right, nesting their moonbirds for the longest, and they're getting rewarded for this, right? They announced notable artists like Terrell and Beeple for Diamond exhibition, and there's going to be more being announced starting next week. So shout out to you if you have a moonbird. That's a big deal. A Beeple every day, right? Doodles, they have finally opened the Genesis box. I mean, we didn't think this was ever going to happen, but it has. And this is just long. Shout out to him, where he says the box has been opened. And he received a beta pass, a spotted long sleeve tee, and a streamer headphones. So some of these, are selling on the secondary market for decent prices. Something like a Coastal Classic selling for $800. And shout out to KY Crypto. He says, why were people footing the socks? The socks are selling for $1,400 on the secondary marketplace. So, honestly, the wearables do look cool, and I think I don't know for sure if the community loves them or hates them, but there's definitely a market here. So, we can go based off of that. Shout out to Spencer, where he says, breaking news. Pudgy Penguin Toys launched 3 weeks ago early at a EB Games in Australia, which apparently is owned by GameStop. And this is what they look like. So I know Pudgies are big on IP, and they're really working on getting the right partnerships and building their brand. So it's cool to see that they're starting to leak some of this stuff out in different areas, and I'm waiting for them to just go with their big push of their IP in all over the place, including here in America. All right, so we talked about Mooncat being the #1 holder of inhabitants, but now it's Dingaling, who we all know is a massive whale who owns a ton of projects, but he tweeted about him essentially burning 40 of 220 mint passes that he held, and now he's the biggest holder of inhabitants, which used to be the Meta Heroes, which is owned by Pixel Vault. So it's at a 0.61 floor. These things got beaten up from the bull market, and some big collectors are seeing them undervalued here. So cool to see. Talking about Beeple, Beeple drops an epic piece here. A new work debuted at Art Basel in Hong Kong that was acquired by the Dehe Art Museum. He says this is a story of a possible future where climate change has forced us to live on these giant clusters in the middle of the ocean. It's 100 years in the future, and things have gotten pretty weird. Similar to his Human One piece that we'll show here, but he says this art will change over time, except this time on a set schedule. Every 5 years, I will change the video to raise the water level, and slowly humans will begin living underwater. He wanted to make a work that addressed the reality of climate change, and also had a hopeful message that I believe no matter what, humans will find a way to survive. Epic piece, super cool, and it's essentially like updating metadata and taking that to a whole new level. And really, you can only do this with digital art, right? So I think Beeple is just an incredible artist pushing the Web3 space to new heights, and congratulations. And he says, of course, the big news is that during the fair, this work was acquired by the Daehi Art Museum in China. So beautiful place. And again, this was the Human One, which was a similar digital piece to the to his new drop. And he just, I'll let Ryan explain it here, where he says, another punk has found a home at a major global museum. The legendary Beeple kindly added Punk 9092 to his epic update of Human One. As you can see it right here as a sticker on the piece. So pretty big deal, as a lot of people are probably viewing this piece and they're going to be seeing this CryptoPunk. Shout out to DK, introducing the DK Tool Lite, free animation rigging tool for everyone. Super amazing and really cool thing. DK has amazing work, one of my favorite animators in the space. And I think this is really cool because now artists could easily create animations, and I'm assuming in his style as well, and he's just opening it up for people. And I think that artists in general that create things and open things up for their collectors and their community, allow them to spread their work, which just brings more value to artists. And I think that's the way to go. Shout out to DK. All right. Another drop by Yuga Labs via Other Side. They're introducing Legends of the Mara. It's a 2D experience with its own companion collection. You claim your vessel, discover its potential, and forge your path. Other deeds with a coda will be able to decouple in advance of the game launch. So we're finally understanding what the fuck does a coda do. So let's jump into it. Thanks JKB on Twitter for breaking it down for us. And he goes through the TLDR here, where he thinks it's a 2D strategy game, sort of like Clash of Clans, where we'll be collecting resources, attacking others, and defending our deeds. The actions will be handled out by Coda and Mara. So what is going on here? Basically, each other deed will be able to claim a vessel. Think of these as kind of like Mara eggs. In the coming weeks, there are 3 types of vessels, as you can see here, and each type impacts what your Mara will be able to do. Enchant, power up, farm fragments, or hunt and defend. Mara are little coda sprite-like creatures that share the color and ability of the vessel that they emerge from. As you can see here, they're kind of like things that are kind of birthed and created into codas. Mara can evolve into a Coda Mara. There you go. If they ingest a seasonal catalyst. It's kind of like the Who's That Pokemon feel. I think he's right there. And you kind of evolve them to become something else, right? So pretty much you'll get a vessel which will come with a Mara, which you evolve into a Coda Mara. These K Maras will either boost, farm, or defend your deed. A Coda is a much more powerful version of a Coda Mara that can do all 3 tasks, but not at one time. And Mara can ingest fragments from the various sentiments, and their traits are affected by what type they ingest. Fragments have to be farmed by Codas, are farmer Coda Maras that are attached to the land to farm. Finally, some clarity and utility for deed traits. Yes, you finally know why you own a rare deed opposed to a floor, right? This is all kind of tying together, and I think Yuga's honestly doing a great job, and never fade Yuga, right? JKB summarizes it up here where he says, I believe we're going to get another side coda-based Clash of Clans game. It will include in-game ape purchases for boosts with some degree to pay to win, as we saw that with Dookie Dash. I don't love that part of it because he's going to spend a bunch of money, but I think overall it was well executed. This is a pretty genius move that adds another ape sync and keeps the community engaged and happy with intermediate game use of other deeds. I think that's a great point because we know Other Side is going to take a long time to reach its full potential, but they continue to build things that keep owners and holders entertained in the meantime. All right, shout out to Olympio, where he breaks down the criteria for the recent Arbitrum airdrop. There's some good lessons to take away from this, as if you missed out like me, you won't want to do that again. And this is the best way to optimize and get the most and biggest possible airdrop for yourself. So he says here, the eligibility criteria. the takeaway on that is the more different activities, the better. Don't be redundant and do the same thing on the chain because you won't be rewarded as much. Takeaway on this one is more volume equals a bigger airdrop, but you didn't need to be a big whale. So the majority of wallets transact on small USD, and they get small airdrops due to that, right? So the takeaway here is different activities with more money. I mean, that seems kind of obvious, but it's a good reminder to focus on those things. The takeaway here is more transactions equals more valuable airdrop. Become a reoccurring user. You don't want to be the majority of the wallets made 1 to 2 transactions, right? So that's not going to net you a lot of airdrop. And what's going to cause you to lose potential airdrop coins? And this is the negative criteria. These users got less ARB, all transactions within only a 2-day period, interactive with only 1 smart contract, and they had a low ETH balance on snapshot day. So make sure not to do or have that going on with your wallet during that airdrop farming season. All right. Now that you're equipped with that, let's jump into some crypto news. As we know, the crypto space is under attack right now. But in spite of that, there's some positive news here. Shout out to Mike where he says, China's state-owned banks aggressively courting crypto companies. Crypto firms rushing into Hong Kong after the city opened its doors to the battered sector, finding a surprising source of potential support. I know we've talked about this on different show, but it continues to be a positive thing as we're getting closer to that June 1st date of legalizing crypto in Hong Kong. Other big news. This is moving forward as well, as this was announced months ago, but now the Nasdaq says institutional appetite in crypto is steady as it plots push into custody trading. And the quick take is that the 52-year-old exchange operator is waiting on approval from the New York Department of Financial Services, expected by the end of June, to begin offering custody to clients. And it's announced its intention to move into crypto following the collapse of 3 Hours Capital in July, and has been pushing ahead even with the slump in cryptocurrency prices. So not everybody's ditching Web3 and crypto, and people like the Nasdaq are one of those people. So cool to see. MicroStrategy, we always know that no matter what, Michael Saylor will always be out there buying our bags. And he does it again, where you can see here, shout out to Blockworks, MicroStrategy purchased 6,455 Bitcoin over the past several weeks. So for approximately $150 million in cash at an average price of approximately 23,238 Bitcoin, with all fees included, MicroStrategy now holds more than 130,000 Bitcoin, totaling around $4.1 billion, and that makes MicroStrategy the largest corporate treasury of any public company. And if you want to see what public companies own Bitcoin on their balance sheets, there's a website for this. BitcoinTreasuries.net, and you can see MicroStrategy is at the top. They are now over 4 billion, as you can see here. It's not been updated, but they're the largest Bitcoin, the corporation with the biggest Bitcoin on their balance sheet, 4 billion market cap. Number 2 is Marathon, which is the largest Bitcoin miner company in the world, and then you got Tesla and a bunch of others that you can see here. And it's, you have some you have a place in Canada, some Canadian companies, and in Britain. So interesting to keep, and I'm assuming that a lot more companies will join this list hopefully in the future. Bloomberg says, breaking: Binance, the world's largest crypto exchange, and CEO CZ was sued by the US CFTC for allegedly breaking trading and derivatives rules. Seems to be a big deal. Shout out to Wolf, where he says, so basically, Binance has an insider trading desk with data to all of your stops and have been trading against you for years. Duh. A lot of people had already been suspecting this, so this is not kind of news for everybody, but he has stated over and over that Binance is no different than BitMEX, who is doing this as well. And Vance, shout to him, where he says, appears CZ is unbothered and moisturized, as he wrote a blog post responding to the CFTC complaint. And basically, he's saying the CFTC filed an unexpected and disappointing civil complaint despite our working cooperatively with the CFTC for over 2 years. Upon an initial review, the complaint appears to contain an incomplete recitation of facts, and we do not agree with the characterization of many of the issues alleged in the complaint. While we are only able to give full responses in due time, they addressed a few, but basically said they're not doing anything wrong and that they will continue to cooperate. So, but it seemed like the CFTC had a lot of evidence of them and had access to certain accounts at Binance and all sorts of things. So we'll see what comes out of that. We talked about NVIDIA, but we need to kind of discuss like all the FUD that's coming at crypto to realize how bad the sentiment really is right now. And you saw the Google trends, you saw volume, liquidity is at lows. So it's the FUD is at max high. And again, that stuff makes me bullish. So this is coming from the NVIDIA CEO. They bought a lot of stuff and then it eventually collapsed because it doesn't bring anything useful for society. AI does. So just a reminder of that. Also, there's a pretty important lawsuit happening and it involves DAO. So DAO token holders owe a duty of care. Monday's ruling saw the court agree with the plaintiff's position that the DAO token holders owed a duty of care to protocol investors. The ruling agreed that they failed to ensure adequate security that would have prevented the hack in 2021. And a U.S. judge denied a motion to the BZX DAO token holders as defendants in a class action lawsuit filed by some of the victims of the protocol's $55 million hack. So somebody sued due to the hack, and the judge is saying that the DAO token holders are potentially responsible. This is a very interesting thing, as people have always wondered that, right? Whether DAO token holders should be held responsible, or are they just part of the community and the governance, right? And it should be the founders. So the court's ruling classified the DAO as a general partnership. It stated that the plaintiffs provided sufficient facts to qualify defendants who held the DAO's governance tokens as members of that general partnership. As such, they are plausibly liable for the group's obligations, according to California law, right? So the quick takeaway, the court ruled that the DAO is plausibly a general partnership due to the way it's operating, and as such, defendants who hold the token and are involved in governance possibly owe a duty of care to investors. All right, so get a quick drink here. Elizabeth Warren is building an anti-crypto army. I mean, this meme really frustrates me because as I would assume that crypto would be something that Democrats would really be for, right? Its goal is to democratize ownership via a permissionless blockchain that anybody can own and build on. But no, instead, they're building an anti-crypto army. You really hate to see that. And shout out to Decrypt, where they write a blog on Pirate Nation, which is a Web3 game. And the news here is that Pirate Nation's game is leaving Polygon and is going to Arbitrum Nova. And this is the reason why. As more people have migrated to Polygon, we just started to run into scaling issues with the Polygon blockchain. We were paying between $3,000 and $4 a day just on gas fees. And so it just got unattainable. It was preventing us from being able to scale the game. And he also says that Pirate Nation needed to move to a more affordable and scalable platform, despite what some might think about scaling networks. He said those Polygon transaction fees really do add up. And we also know that Polygon, from last week, they just launched their zero knowledge EVM network, which was a scaling tool. But the CEO of Pirates admitted that he doesn't want to take that risk on something that may not yet be fully optimized. And this is Pirate Nation on Twitter making that announcement of them moving over to the Arbitrum blockchain. All right. The U.S. government sold 9,800 Bitcoin on March 14th. It intends to sell a further 41,500 Bitcoin connected to the Silk Road case from way back in the day in 4 batches over the course of the year. Pretty interesting. We have some supply coming to the market, obviously. But even on March 14th, when they sold that Bitcoin, you could see that we came down a little bit on the chart. But then we just came right back up within a couple of days. So it didn't even phase Bitcoin. Love to see it. Shout out to DJO, where he says the U.S. government transferred and sold the 9.8K Bitcoin on Coinbase. And then they turn around a week later and serve Coinbase with a whale's notice. That's just, what do you say about something like that? But shout out to Blockworks, where they wrote a blog on Bittrex closing U.S. exchange due to regulatory uncertainty. It really sucks because you're hearing this more and more and more, and it's really pushing a lot of things. Overseas, you hate to see it. This is the tweet by Bittrex, which had an exchange operations here in America for crypto. And they said, due to continued regulatory uncertainty, we have made the difficult decision to wind down our U.S. operations. Effective April 30th. All funds are safe and can be fully withdrawn immediately. This is a blog post by the CEO of Bittrex, Richie, where, he kind of explains that the situation here, right, that they've been around for 9 years in the crypto ecosystem, but the regulatory requirements are often unclear and enforced without appropriate discussion or input, resulting in an uneven competitive landscape. And that's it. They're shut down here in America. So it's not cool, right? As we know, AI and crypto are the newest sort of tech evolution, and crypto is one of those two. Crypto is getting pushed overseas, and it's not a good thing for us here in America. Crypto funding had a pretty big week, with Ledger and Aegon Labs leading with $227 million in investments. $109 million of that was Ledger in its new Series C round, with some of these investors. Also, cryptocurrency hardware, Ledger secured the most significant funding. And it's now valued at $1.4 billion. So shout out to Ledger. And then Aegon Labs, which is a restaking protocol in Ethereum, they also raised $50 million for their Series A by Blockchain Capital. So cool to see a ton of VC money is still entering the space. Let's go over a few of the TradeFi important pieces of news that dropped this week, as it's just good to know a little bit of what's happening macroly and what could potentially affect markets. Shout out to Holdred, where he says one of the best bank deals of our time. First Citizens shared jump 54%. North Carolina lender took over their they took over Silicon Valley's bank, which is the bank that recently failed. They took over their deposits, $56 billion, as well as $72 billion in loans at a discount of $16.5 billion. The FDIC will help finance the deal with $34 billion in a loan and $70 billion in a credit line to help cover pot depot flight. Shout out to Jeannie, where she says the FDIC had trouble selling off Silicon Valley Bank. The deal with First Citizens Bank is far from a win for them. First Citizens is taking over, as we shared that earlier, and they agreed to an 8-year loss sharing agreement on loans taken over by First Citizens. It will cost the FDIC the $20 billion and about 15% of its funds. Wow. A lot of things happening with countries across the world. Saudi Arabia partners with China to build a Chinese oil refinery for 83 billion yen, which is about $20.2 billion. This was interesting. The Federal Reserve dropped a video on how they're, similar to a CBDC kind of digital payment service is going to operate. I encourage you to watch the video. And it says its FedNow digital payment service is faster and better than traditional banking. But they also say it's better than crypto. And it's not a coincidence to me that Elizabeth Warren comes out and says she's on an anti-crypto war, and the government has switched their stance on crypto, right? Just as they're releasing their FedNow digital payment system. I think they just feel like it's competition, and they want their central bank here to continue to hold control, and that's what this FedNow system will do for them. Also, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, the BRICS, are developing a new currency. A lot of people are waning off that U.S. dependency. And finally, this went through. El Salvador president officially eliminates all income, property, and capital gains taxes on technology innovations. This is big. I don't think any other country's ever done this. And they continue to lead with a completely different strategy. And let's see if they continue to attract tech startups over there with, Bitcoin legal tender and these tax cuts. All right. A list. Thank you to Watcher.guru, where they give us that weekly recap of all the different things that happen with the different countries. And a lot of it is in relation to countries in relationships with the U.S. dollar. As you can see that President of Kenya tells citizens to get rid of U.S. dollars. Let's see. China and Brazil to sell trades in their own currencies, ditching the U.S. dollar. China and France complete the first LNG gas trade using Chinese yuan, ending reliance on the U.S. dollar for energy trades. These are big deals, right? These are things that have been in place for decades, and now countries are deciding to go a different direction. All right. That's all we got for you. Shout out to DB, where he reminds us that Q1 of this year is over. April Fool's Day was the next day. And I just wish you the best in Q2 and be prepared. I hope this show helps. And one last thing I want to ask from y'all is that working on a Web3 project with a friend, we've been brewing on this idea that's really exciting us, and we need an artist to bring it to life. If you are an artist or if you know anybody, please get into my DMs, contact me, and I would love to talk to you about bringing this to life and bringing some value to the Web3 community. So with that being said, have an amazing Q2. Hope the show got you caught up. This is Web3 Weekly Alpha, Episode 8. Your host, Serpunk. Shout out to InnerSpace, Web3 CFL, powered by these guys. And again, we will see you for another episode next week. Peace. Since Web 1, hello, hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, yo, set it up. Surfing on the web and I'm shooting at 3. I've been goated when I got my G. I'm an alien boy from a different planet, yeah. So I got my drink, I'm riding in the 1920s Model T Ford. Call her era lore. Call me Levi, playing on them keys, boy. And I'm about to put my gloves on. If I said it, then I meant that. Yeah, I like that one, I'm about to get that. Crash that whip for the drumsticks, whiplash. I'm about to get them all. Are you with that? In a white boat, surrounded by blue. I want